As we move on, our next speaker is Nora Burns. She has built a career helping organizations reimagine the employee experience. She has conducted primary research as the undercover candidate and the undercover employee, including participating in over 250 job interviews, not as herself, and working the front lines of 8 organizations that did not know her as a former Fortune 200 executive or workplace culture expert, but strictly as the cashier, the customer service rep, the warehouse employee, the driver, etc. Her insights are a blend of education, experience, and this proprietary undercover research. When she's not helping clients enhance their workplace culture, you'll find Nora wandering, walking trails in Colorado, with a cup of coffee in one hand and the dog lead in the other. Please help me welcome Nora Burns.
Thanks, Ed. As the undercover candidate, I have applied for a vast array of jobs, from production manager and director of operations, baker, housekeeper, director of IT, that's a bad choice, accountant, the list goes on. But I may have applied and interviewed with you, with your organization, with one of your member organizations, or your favorite brand. But you'll never know for sure because I don't disclose the names of the organizations where I interviewed, nor where I worked as the undercover employee. Because this research is not about blame and shame and pointing fingers. It's about collectively getting information, real truthful information about our workplace cultures, about the trends in the workplace, about why people leave, why people stay, and what candidates and employees are truly experiencing. Now, when I started this research as the undercover candidate years ago, I put together a research plan. I talked with HR peers, with business experts and business coaches, and of course, with ethicists. I didn't accept so much as a cup of coffee from any of the organizations where I interviewed as the undercover candidate. Once the plan was in play, and I set forth on this research, one of the first things I needed to do was travel out of state, because I didn't want my experiences and my examples to only be from Colorado. And I decided for my first interviewing trip, I would go back to my home state of Wisconsin, where I was born and raised. Yeah, some of you already guessed that, because you can take the woman out of Wisconsin, but you cannot take the out of her voice. So I go back to my home state of Wisconsin for this first set of a dozen interviews. Along the way, I stay with family and friends, and I even go back to my hometown and pick up a block of Colby cheese from Widmer's Cheese Factory and a giant chocolate eyeball from the chocolatier in town. When I finish all of the interviews and my visits with family and friends, I go back to Denver, Colorado by way of Chicago O'Hare. Now, when I go through TSA, I take my phone and I put it in that giant dog bowl that is going to transport it through the X-ray machine, followed by my carry-on bag. When I get to the other side, I look in and my phone is there, but my carry-on, it's going for a second time in the machine. So I just pick up my phone and I start retrieving messages and responding to messages, and the bag's going to come. I've got plenty of time. For once, I'm early to the airport, so I'm not worried. Until Michael captures my attention. Michael is a TSA agent who stands about 6'4", 5'5". And as he towers over my 5'2" frame, he says, "Is this your bag?" "Yes." "Is there anything suspicious or sharp in it that I should know about before I do a hand search of the bag?" "No." So he goes off with my bag and I go back into my phone. And as I start reading a message, into my mind floats the image of the interior of that bag. My interview clothes, a couple of books, notebook, giant block of cheese, chocolate eyeball, And nestled next to them is one of the key components of my undercover research toolkit. I like motion to get Michael's attention, but it's too late. He has already unzipped the bag, folded back the flap, and discovered the offending item. Michael pulls up with his frame and he turns to me holding a plastic gallon bag filled with 25 disposable cell phones. Okay, so these cell phones are all what I needed as undercover candidate, right? You need to call the candidate, you need to call their references. There's a lot of phones required. And each one of these has on it the name of the candidate, their phone number, their email address. This looks weird. Michael turns to me and he's holding this up and he simply looks and points and says, "Ma'am." And I said the one and only thing that I could think of at that moment. Match.com? Now, thankfully, Michael appreciated my humor in the moment. And as it turns out, it is perfectly legal to travel with 25 disposable cell phones in your carry-on bag. Highly suspicious, but legal. So that was just one of the things that I learned as I started this experiment. I always need to be early to the airport for secondary screening. Now, in years before, I have been the executive. I have spent a lot of time on executive row and in the boardrooms of Fortune 500 organizations, helping them strategize around their people elements of their business. Now, there's a magic that happens in the boardroom, and I find that time really insightful and invigorating. But I believe that it is truly that combination where boardroom and break room meet, where we understand both in full, where true operational magic happens. And I learned a lot of that when I changed from my executive wear into the polyester of the frontline employee. Now, in addition to learning that I needed to arrive to security in plenty of time for secondary screening, because let's just accept I'm always going to be going through secondary screening, I also learned some important things that will be helpful for your organizations. That in A/B testing of resumes, those resumes submitted with male names will have a 60% higher chance of a positive result than those submitted with traditionally female names. I learned that 80% or more of interviews start late, and that those candidates are left waiting in rooms with financial data, the P&L, with confidential information about the organization, and unlocked laptops. I uncovered a correlation between the Yelp score of your business and employee satisfaction and your organizational turnover. I learned the moment that the hiring manager decided they were absolutely hiring me. And I could say almost anything after that point, and they would still move forward with the offer. I have a unique balance of this experience as an executive with the Fortune 500, as years of consulting and practicing as an HR executive, and my research for years as the undercover candidate and the undercover employee. I have the data that your teams need. I have the experience and the tools to help them implement it for successful completion. And I have the stories. I have the stories they need to hear. I'm Nora Burns with the Leadership Experts. I look forward to working with you soon. Thank you.
Nora, thanks so much.